The cargo bay of the Zephyrian transport vessel Stellarmaw stank of alien sweat and fear. Captain Marcus Chen pressed his face against the reinforced viewing port, watching as the purple-skinned Zephyrians dragged something massive across the metallic floor. The creature's scales scraped against the deck plating with a sound like grinding glass. "What the hell is that thing?" whispered Sergeant Rodriguez, Marcus's second-in-command. The human prisoners had been aboard this alien vessel for 3 weeks now, ever since their exploration ship had been captured near the Andromeda border. The creature was unlike anything in Earth's xenobiology databases. Nearly 12 feet long, it possessed the general body plan of a massive lizard, but its limbs were powerful and built for both quadrupedal and bipedal movement. Midnight black scales covered most of its body, while electric blue patterns ran along its spine and limbs like living lightning. Even unconscious and bleeding, it radiated a primal intelligence that made Marcus's skin crawl. "Kythera," spat one of the Zephyrian guards in broken standard. "Deathbringer, monster from the deep worlds." The aliens were treating their captive with obvious fear and disgust. They had bound its powerful limbs with energy shackles that sparked and hissed against its scales. Multiple wounds leaked a dark fluid that might have been blood. The creature's breathing was labored, each exhale producing a low rumble that vibrated through the ship's hull. Marcus had seen the Zephyrians' cruelty firsthand during his captivity. They viewed most species as inferior, treating prisoners like livestock, but their treatment of this creature went beyond their usual callousness. This was personal hatred mixed with terror. "Kythera killed 3 squadrons on Zarian Prime," continued the guard, his voice carrying the satisfaction of anticipated revenge. "But the hunt packs cornered it. Now it dies slowly as befits a monster." The unconscious creature stirred slightly, and every Zephyrian in the cargo bay took a step back. Even in its weakened state, they feared it. Marcus found himself studying the being more carefully. Its head was elegantly proportioned, with the intelligent brow ridge and closed eyes that suggested sapience rather than mere animal cunning. The way it held itself, even unconscious, spoke of dignity. "Captain," Rodriguez whispered urgently. "Look at its hands." Marcus followed his sergeant's gaze. The creature's forelimbs ended not in claws but in sophisticated hands with opposable thumbs. Tool-using hands? The hands of a sentient being. "They're going to execute a sentient creature," Marcus realized, his voice tight with anger. The Zephyrians were already preparing for what they obviously considered entertainment. They had activated several pain inducement devices and laid out various implements of torture. Their plan was clear: wake the creature and make it suffer before killing it. "This is wrong," said Dr. Sarah Kim, the expedition's xenobiologist. She had been studying the creature through the viewing port with scientific fascination that was rapidly turning to horror. "Even if it killed their people in battle, torture is a violation of the Galactic Warfare Accords." "The Zephyrians don't recognize those accords," Marcus replied grimly. "They consider them weak human sentiment." As if summoned by their conversation, Guard Leader Vex approached their holding cell. The tall, purple-skinned alien regarded the human prisoners with contempt. "You will observe," he announced in his harsh accent. "Learn what happens to those who oppose the Zephyrian Empire." "That creature is sentient," Marcus said, standing to face the alien guard. "Torturing a prisoner of war is a crime under interstellar law." Vex's 4 eyes narrowed with amusement. "Humans and your foolish morality. The Kythera is not a prisoner of war. It is a monster, a plague upon civilized worlds. Its kind knows only killing and destruction." "Then why not simply execute it quickly?" Dr. Kim interjected. "Why the torture?" "Because," Vex's voice took on a hungry quality, "it must suffer as our warriors suffered. The Kythera shows no mercy, so it shall receive none." Marcus felt his jaw clench. He had seen enough death during humanity's expansion into space to know the difference between a soldier doing their duty and a sadist enjoying their work. Vex was definitely the latter. The creature began to stir more noticeably now. Its massive head lifted slightly, and one eye cracked open to reveal an iris of startling gold. The eye tracked across the cargo bay, taking in its surroundings with obvious intelligence. When its gaze fell upon the torture implements, something like resignation flickered across its reptilian features. "It understands," Sarah breathed. "It knows what they're planning." The Kythera's other eye opened and it attempted to rise. The energy shackles immediately activated, sending visible bolts of electricity coursing through its body. The creature's pain was evident, but it made no sound. It simply endured, watching its captors with a gaze that held more dignity than any of the Zephyrians in the room. Proud to the end, Vex sneered. We shall see how long that pride lasts. Marcus found himself studying the creature's face more intently. There was something almost human in its expression, not physically, of course, but in the way it processed its situation. The intelligence behind those golden eyes was assessing, planning, accepting its fate with a stoicism that reminded him of his own soldiers facing impossible odds. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly, we can't just watch this happen. Marcus knew his sergeant was right, but their options were limited. They were prisoners themselves, locked in an energy cell with no weapons and no apparent means of escape. The Zephyrians had been careful to strip them of anything that could be used as a tool or weapon. Still, he found himself cataloging the cargo bay's layout, noting guard positions and potential weaknesses. It was what he had been trained to do: assess, plan, act when the moment was right. The Cathera's golden eyes suddenly fixed on the human prisoners. For a long moment, creature and captain stared at each other across the cargo bay. Marcus saw something flicker in those alien eyes. Recognition? Hope? It was impossible to say. But in that moment, Marcus Chen made a decision that would change everything. He would not stand by and watch the torture of a sentient being, not while he drew breath. The question was how to act without getting himself and his people killed in the process. The torture session began an hour later, and Marcus had to grip the energy bars of their cell to keep from lunging forward uselessly. The Zephyrians had activated their pain induction devices, sending waves of neural disruption through the Cathera's nervous system. The creature's massive body convulsed, but still it made no sound. Fascinating, Dr. Kim whispered, her scientific mind working even through her horror. Its pain tolerance is incredible. The neural pathways must be structured completely differently from most known species. Vex seemed frustrated by the lack of vocal response. He gestured to his subordinates, who increased the intensity. The Cathera's claws gouged furrows in the metal decking, but its golden eyes remained fixed on some distant point, as if it were somehow separating its consciousness from its physical suffering. Marcus forced himself to watch and learn. The cargo bay had 7 guards total, including Vex. 2 stationed near the main exit, 2 flanking the torture area, 1 monitoring the human prisoners, and 2 operating the pain devices. Standard Zephyrian tactical deployment for a secure area. The ship itself was a mid-range transport, which meant limited crew and predictable layouts. Marcus had studied captured Zephyrian vessels during his military service. He knew these ships almost as well as the aliens did. Rodriguez, he said quietly, remember the Proxima incident, when we were trapped in that mining facility? His sergeant's eyes sharpened with understanding. The old switcheroo. But Captain, we don't have the equipment for that kind of play. We'll improvise. Dr. Kim looked between them, confused. What are you planning? A distraction, Marcus said simply. Sarah, I need you to analyze that creature's bio-readings from here. Can you determine its physical limitations? How much damage it can take? She nodded, pulling out her concealed medical scanner. The Zephyrians had missed it during their initial search, assuming it was just another human trinket. Its cardiovascular system is incredibly robust. Triple-chambered heart, redundant circulatory pathways. Even with those injuries, it could probably fight for hours if the restraints were removed. Marcus felt a grim smile tug at his lips. Good. That's what I was hoping. The Cathera's ordeal continued for another 30 minutes before Vex finally grew bored with the lack of vocal response. He approached the creature directly, pulling out what appeared to be a neural probe. Perhaps we need a more intimate approach, the alien said with sadistic satisfaction. As Vex leaned over the bound creature, Marcus saw his chance. Hey, Purple Skin, he shouted across the cargo bay. If you're going to torture someone, why not try a real challenge? Vex straightened, his 4 eyes focusing on the human captain with annoyance. Silence, vermin. Your time will come, will it? Marcus continued, stepping closer to the energy bars. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're afraid of anything that might fight back. That creature's half dead and you still needed a whole squad to watch it. The alien guard monitoring their cell shifted nervously. Marcus could see he had struck a nerve. Zephyrian culture was built around concepts of personal strength and martial prowess. Suggesting cowardice was a profound insult. You dare question Zephyrian courage? Vex hissed. abandoning his torture victim to stride toward the human prisoners. "I'm not questioning anything," Marcus replied calmly. "I'm stating facts. 7 armed guards to watch one dying creature. That's not courage. That's fear." Vex's face darkened with rage. He barked an order in his native language, and the guard nearest the human cell deactivated the energy barrier. "Captain, what are you doing?" Rodriguez whispered urgently. "Trust me," Marcus replied, then louder. "Come on then. Vex, let's see if Zephyrian courage is anything more than propaganda." The alien stepped into the cell, his plasma weapon drawn but not yet aimed. He was confident in his physical superiority. Zephyrians were taller and stronger than humans, with redundant organ systems that made them difficult to kill. What Vex didn't know was that Marcus had studied their anatomy extensively. "You will learn respect before you die, human," Vex snarled. Marcus waited until the alien was fully inside the cell, then moved. Not toward Vex, but toward the cell's control panel. His shoulder struck the surprised guard, sending him stumbling, while Marcus's fingers found the emergency lockdown switch. The cell's energy barrier snapped back to life, trapping Vex inside with the humans while cutting him off from his backup. The alien roared in fury, raising his weapon, but Rodriguez was already moving. The sergeant's combat training kicked in as he tackled Vex from behind. The struggle was brief but vicious. Zephyrians were stronger, but humans were more agile and far more desperate. Dr. Kim joined the fight, using her medical knowledge to target nerve clusters. Within moments, they had Vex unconscious and stripped of his weapons. "The others will be here any second," Rodriguez panted. Marcus was already at the cell controls, his fingers flying over the alien interface. His years of studying captured Zephyrian technology paid off as he accessed the ship's internal systems. "Not if they think Vex is interrogating us personally. These ships have privacy protocols for senior officers." He activated the cell's soundproofing and internal monitoring blackout. From the outside, it would appear that Vex was conducting a private interrogation session. The other guards would not interfere without direct orders. "Brilliant," Dr. Kim breathed. "But what now? We're still trapped on an alien ship in the middle of space." Marcus turned his attention to Vex's equipment. The alien carried a portable command unit that could access ship functions. More importantly, it had override codes for security systems. "Now we even the odds," Marcus said, inputting commands into the device. Across the cargo bay, the Cathara's energy restraint suddenly deactivated. The creature's golden eyes snapped open with surprise. For a moment it remained motionless, as if unable to believe its sudden freedom. Then slowly, it rose to its full height. 12 feet of apex predator stood in the center of the cargo bay, and every Zephyrian guard suddenly remembered why their people feared the Cathara. The creature's wounds were still bleeding, but its movements carried lethal grace. Its head turned slowly, taking in each guard position with predatory calculation. "It's going to slaughter them all," Dr. Kim whispered. But Marcus was watching the creature's eyes. They fixed on him through the cell's transparent barrier, and he saw something unexpected there. Not bloodthirsty rage, but questioning intelligence. The Cathara understood what had happened. It knew the humans had freed it. "No," Marcus said quietly. "It's going to choose." The Cathara could have begun killing immediately. Instead, it looked back at the torture devices, then at the guards who had been tormenting it. When it finally moved, it was with surgical precision. The first guard to react was the one who had been operating the pain inducers. The Cathara covered the distance between them in 2 powerful bounds, its clawed hand striking with incredible speed. The guard collapsed without making a sound. The remaining Zephyrians opened fire, but the creature was already moving. It flowed across the cargo bay like liquid death, using cargo containers and equipment for cover. Its movements were those of a being perfectly adapted for combat, every motion calculated for maximum efficiency. Within minutes, it was over. 6 Zephyrian guards lay unconscious or dead across the cargo bay floor. The Cathara stood among them, barely breathing hard despite its injuries. Then it turned toward the human prisoners and began to approach their cell with slow, deliberate steps. The Cathara stopped just outside their cell, its massive form casting a shadow across the 3 humans. Up close, Marcus could see the intelligence burning in those golden eyes, along with something else: curiosity. The creature tilted its head, studying them with the same intensity they had used to observe it. "Captain," Rodriguez whispered, his hand instinctively moving toward where his sidearm should have been. "What do we do if it decides we're enemies too?" Marcus slowly raised his hands, palms open, in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peaceful intent. "We trust that intelligence," I saw in its eyes. The Kithera's gaze fixed on Marcus, and for a long moment neither moved. Then the creature did something unexpected. It reached out with one clawed hand and gently touched the energy barrier separating them. When its scales made contact with the field, electricity arced harmlessly across its skin. The creature seemed fascinated by the sensation. "Its scales are naturally resistant to energy weapons," Dr. Kim observed in wonder. "That's why the torture devices were only partially effective." The Kithera stepped back and gestured toward the cell controls with a fluid movement that was unmistakably communicative. It wanted to free them, but wasn't sure how to operate Zephyrian technology. Marcus held up Vex's command unit and activated the cell release. As the barriers dissolved, he took a careful step forward. The creature remained motionless, watching his approach with keen attention. "Thank you," Marcus said simply, knowing the creature might not understand his words, but hoping his tone would convey meaning. The Kithera's head tilted again, and then it did something that sent chills down Marcus's spine. It spoke. "Gratitude. Acknowledged." The words came in heavily accented standard, the voice deep and resonant like distant thunder. "Debt incurred," Dr. Kim gasped. "It speaks standard. How is that possible?" The creature's golden eyes shifted to her. "Zephyrian. Teaching methods. Effective but unpleasant." There was dark humor in its tone. "I am Cathawar, hunter-scholar of the deep reaches." Marcus felt pieces clicking into place. "You're not just some random creature they captured. You're someone important." Cathavar's expression grew grim. "Was my people. Exiled me. Disagreed with pacification policies. Believed Zephyrians could be reasoned with." A bitter sound that might have been laughter rumbled from its throat. "Error in judgment. The attacks on Zirian Prime," Rodriguez said. "You were fighting a guerrilla war, protecting colonists. Mixed species settlement. Zephyrians decided. Non-compliance required elimination." Cathavar's claws flexed unconsciously. "Saved who I could." Not enough, Marcus understood now. This wasn't a monster or terrorist. It was a soldier who had chosen to defend the defenseless, even when his own people had abandoned him. The same choice Marcus himself had made countless times during his career. "The Zephyrians will send more forces," Dr. Kim pointed out. "This ship will have regular check-ins with their fleet." Cathavar nodded. "Ship carries emergency beacon, already activated when restraints failed. Have perhaps 2 hours before backup arrives. Then we need to get out of here," Marcus said. "Can you pilot this thing?" "Zephyrian ships. Familiar to me, but damage extensive. Hyperdrive offline. Sublight only." Cathavar paused, studying the humans.
"Why did you
intervene? Your people have no conflict with Zephyrians." Marcus met the alien's gaze steadily, because it was the right thing to do. "We don't stand by and watch torture regardless of species." Something shifted in Cathavar's expression. "Curious. Most species prioritize self-preservation. Most humans do too," Marcus admitted. "But some of us believe there are things more important than survival." Cathavar was quiet for a moment, processing this. "Your ship, the one that brought you here. What happened to it?" "Destroyed in the capture," Rodriguez said bitterly. "They didn't want us escaping to report their activities in this sector. Then we share common problem, both stranded in hostile territory." Dr. Kim had been examining the cargo bay while they talked. "There are escape pods here. Military grade with basic navigation systems. Pods designed for Zephyrian physiology," Cathavar pointed out. "Cramped for my size. And insufficient range to reach neutral space." Marcus was already thinking tactically. "What about that emergency beacon? Could we reprogram it to send a distress signal instead?" "Possible. But signal would reach Zephyrian forces first. Would bring hunters, not rescuers. Unless we sent it on a specific frequency," Dr. Kim said suddenly. "Marcus, remember the deep space monitoring stations? They monitor all frequencies for signs of human activity in contested zones." Marcus felt hope stir. The Terran Deep Space Network maintained monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, listening for distress signals from human ships and personnel. If they could modify the beacon to broadcast on human emergency frequencies, it could work, he said. But we'd need time to modify the beacon, and we'd have to hope a human ship is close enough to respond before the Zephyrians arrive. Kethvar studied them for a long moment. You would trust your lives to such uncertain plan? Do you have a better idea? Marcus asked. The alien was quiet for several heartbeats. There is another option. Kithra emergency protocols. If signal sent on proper frequency, my people would respond. I thought your people exiled you, Rodriguez said. Exiled, not forgotten. Some among my clan still believe in old ways, honor codes that predate political disagreements. Kethvar's voice carried a note of uncertainty. They might come, or they might not. Marcus weighed their options. Trust in human rescue services operating in hostile territory, or rely on aliens who had exiled their potential rescuer for political reasons. Neither option was particularly appealing. What if we tried both? Dr. Kim suggested. Send signals on multiple frequencies. Increase our chances of someone responding. Kethvar nodded slowly. Redundancy improves. Survival probability, but modification will take time. And Zephyrian backup could arrive. Then we'd better get started, Marcus interrupted. And we'd better be ready to fight if rescue doesn't arrive in time. The unlikely allies began working together, human technology expertise combining with Kethara knowledge of ship systems. As they labored over the beacon modifications, Marcus found himself studying his reptilian companion. Kethvar worked with precision and intelligence, his massive claws surprisingly delicate when handling complex electronics. Can I ask you something? Marcus said during a brief pause in their work. Kethvar looked up from the beacon array. Ask, why did you choose to help us? You could have just escaped when we freed you. The alien considered this. Your species puzzles me. Tactically inferior to most galactic powers, shorter-lived than most sentient races. Yet you act with honor that longer-lived species have forgotten? Kethvar's golden eyes met his. Perhaps that is why your people succeed where others fail. Marcus felt a strange warmth at those words. Coming from a being who had been betrayed by his own people for following his conscience, it meant more than any military decoration. Signal modifications complete, Dr. Kim announced, ready to transmit on both frequencies. Kethvar activated the beacon with careful precision. Across space, their dual distress signals began broadcasting, carrying the hope of 4 unlikely allies into the void. Now all they could do was wait and prepare for whatever came next. The first response came 90 minutes later, crackling through the ship's communication system in heavily accented standard. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Thexali of the Kithara deep ship Silent Current. We have received distress beacon on clan frequency. Identify yourself. Kethvar's entire posture changed at the sound of that voice. His golden eyes widened with something Marcus recognized as hope mixed with disbelief. Thexali, Kethvar whispered. My clutch sister. Marcus gestured for him to respond. Kethvar moved to the communication console with careful dignity. Silent Current, this is Kethvar of the Broken Hunt. I live, sister. The silence that followed stretched for long seconds. When Thexali's voice returned, it carried a weight of emotion that transcended species barriers. Brother of my choosing, the clan mourned you as dead. Where are you? Captured by Zephyrian hunt packs. Currently aboard transport vessel Stellar Maw. Ship compromised. Zephyrian reinforcements. En route. Understood. We are 12 minutes out. Prepare for extraction. Marcus felt relief flood through him, but it was short-lived. Rodriguez was monitoring the sensor array and his expression was grim. Captain, I'm picking up multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Zephyrian signatures coming in fast. The display showed 4 ships, including what appeared to be a heavy cruiser. They had perhaps 8 minutes before the Zephyrian task force arrived. Thexali, Kethvar said urgently. Zephyrian battle group inbound. 4 vessels, including heavy cruiser. ETA 8 minutes, acknowledged. Silent Current is fast but lightly armed. Cannot engage battle group directly. Marcus studied the tactical display. The Kithara ship was indeed fast, designed for stealth and rapid strikes rather than prolonged combat. Against a Zephyrian battle group, it would be massively outgunned. There might be another way, he said suddenly. Kethvar, can you access this ship's weapon systems? Limited access. Most systems require command authorization codes. What about the self-destruct? Dr. Kim stared at him in horror. Marcus, you can't be serious. Think about it, Marcus continued. The Zephyrians are expecting to find prisoners and a damaged transport. They won't be prepared for the ship to explode in their faces. Kethavar's predatory smile was terrifying to behold. Clever. But timing must be more precise. Too early and we die with our enemies. Too late and they detect the countdown. How close can your sister get without being detected? Marcus asked. Kethavar relayed the question. Thexali's response was immediate. Silent current can approach to within 2 kilometers using stealth systems. Closer if you provide distraction. Marcus felt the pieces of a plan falling into place. Can she deploy rescue pods without being detected? Possible if target vessel appears to be experiencing systems failures. Rodriguez, start shutting down non-essential systems. Make it look like we're having cascading failures. Dr. Kim helped Kethavar access the self-destruct system. As his team worked, Marcus found himself studying the tactical situation. The Zephyrian ships were approaching in standard formation, with the heavy cruiser hanging back while the escorts moved to intercept. They were confident, expecting no resistance from a damaged transport. Self-destruct accessible, Kethavar reported, but requires biometric confirmation from ranking officer. Marcus looked at the unconscious Vex. Will he work? Negative. Requires ship's commanding officer and conscious participation. Then we need to convince the captain to cooperate, Marcus said grimly. Where would he be? Command deck. Likely sealed himself in when fighting began. Marcus nodded. Rodriguez, you're with me. Kim, stay here and monitor the approach. Kethavar, I accompany you, the alien said firmly. Zephyrian captains respond to intimidation. They made their way through the ship's corridors, following Kethavar's knowledge of Zephyrian vessel layouts. The transport was larger than Marcus had initially realized, with multiple decks and hundreds of compartments. Getting lost would be fatal. The command deck was indeed sealed, its blast doors locked down tight. Through the viewing ports they could see movement inside. At least 6 Zephyrians, including one wearing the elaborate uniform of a ship's captain. They know we're here, Rodriguez observed, probably monitoring our approach. Kethavar stepped forward and placed his clawed hand against the blast door. Captain Vorth, he called out in standard. I know you can hear me. Movement inside the command deck increased. The captain approached the viewing port, his 4 eyes wide with fear and hatred. Monster, Vorth spat through the intercom. You should have died properly on Zerion. Perhaps, Kethavar replied calmly. But I live, and your battle group approaches. Soon they will board this vessel and find interesting things. Like evidence of treaty violations, torture of prisoners, attack on neutral vessels. Marcus understood immediately. The Zephyrians were operating in violation of several interstellar agreements. If word got out, it could destabilize their political position. Lies, Vorth snarled, but there was uncertainty in his voice. Human witnesses, Kethavar continued. Recorded evidence. Your career ends in disgrace, Vorth, unless what? Clean slate? Ship destroyed by technical malfunction. No evidence. No witnesses save those you choose to preserve. Marcus saw the cunning in Kethavar's approach. He was offering Vorth a way to cover up the illegal operations while appearing to have suffered a tragic accident. You expect me to destroy my own ship? Vorth asked. I expect you to survive with honor intact, Kethavar replied. Alternative is court-martial and execution for treaty violations. The captain was clearly torn. Through the viewing port, Marcus could see him conferring with his officers. The debate was heated, with several pointing in their direction. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly, the Zephyrian battle group is 3 minutes out. Marcus activated his communicator. Dr. Kim, status on rescue approach. Silent current is in position. Deploying rescue pods now. ETA 90 seconds, time was running out. Marcus made a decision. Kethavar, tell him his battle group is about to dock. If he doesn't act now, they'll board the ship and discover everything anyway. Kethavar nodded and addressed the sealed command deck. Your reinforcements arrive in minutes, Vorth. They will board. They will investigate. They will find evidence you cannot hide. Act now or face consequences. The captain's resistance finally cracked. What guarantee do I have that you will honor this arrangement? My word as a hunter-scholar, Kethavar replied solemnly, and the practical reality that dead witnesses cannot testify. Vorth moved to his command console with obvious reluctance. Initiating emergency self-destruct. Countdown begins in 30 seconds. Marcus felt his communicator buzz. Dr. Kim's voice was urgent. Rescue pods have docked. Move now. They ran through the corridors as emergency klaxons began wailing throughout the ship. The self-destruct countdown echoed from hidden speakers. 10 minutes to emergency detonation. All personnel to escape pods. Behind them, the command deck blast doors were opening as Vorth and his officers prepared to abandon ship. The Zephyrian captain had chosen survival over duty, just as Marcus had hoped. They reached the cargo bay to find Dr. Kim already entering a sleek Kythera rescue pod. The alien vessel was elegant and organic-looking, clearly built by beings who understood both function and beauty. "Hurry," Dr. Kim called. "The silent current can't wait much longer." Marcus dove into the pod, followed by Rodriguez and finally Kethvar. As the aliens sealed the hatch, Marcus caught a glimpse of Captain Vorth and his officers entering their own escape pod nearby. The pod launched just as the first Zephyrian boarding shuttles attached to the transport's hull. Through the pod's viewports, Marcus watched the stellar maw growing smaller behind them. 5 minutes to detonation, Kethvar reported. "Will Zephyrians clear minimum safe distance?" Marcus studied the tactical display. "Not if they're following standard boarding procedures. They'll want to secure the ship first." He was right. The Zephyrian boarding parties were already inside the transport, unaware of the countdown ticking toward their doom. The explosion was visible even from the safety of the silent current's observation deck. The stellar maw vanished in a brilliant flash that temporarily overloaded the viewport's automatic filters. When the glare faded, debris was spreading in an expanding sphere, and 2 of the 4 Zephyrian ships were tumbling helplessly, their hulls breached by the unexpected detonation. "Direct hit on boarding shuttles," reported Thexali from the bridge. "Zephyrian heavy cruiser damaged but functional. Remaining escort vessel pursuing." Marcus stood beside Kethvar, watching the destruction with mixed feelings. They had escaped, but at the cost of dozens of lives. War always demanded such prices, but that didn't make them easier to pay. "You did what was necessary," Kethvar said quietly, as if reading his thoughts. "Zephyrians would have shown no mercy to prisoners." "I know," Marcus replied. "Doesn't make it feel any better." Thexali joined them on the observation deck, and Marcus got his first clear look at another member of Kethvar's species. She was slightly smaller than her clutch brother, with scales that shifted between deep green and black depending on the angle of view. Her movements carried the same predatory grace, but there was something more refined about her manner. "Brother of my choosing," Thexali said, her voice carrying warmth that surprised Marcus. "The clan believed you dead. When your distress signal arrived, you came without hesitation," Kethvar finished, "even though the elders declared me exile-marked." "The elders are old fools," Thexali replied with obvious affection. "Some of us remember what honor means." Dr. Kim approached the group, her medical scanner in hand. "Kethvar, your injuries need immediate attention. You've lost significant amounts of blood." The massive alien waved dismissively. "Kythera physiology is resilient. I will heal." "Maybe, but proper medical treatment will speed the process." She looked at Thexali. "Does your ship have medical facilities compatible with his biology?" "Our healing chambers are advanced," Thexali confirmed. "But first we must address immediate problem. Remaining Zephyrian ships are signaling for reinforcements. This sector will soon be flooded with enemy vessels." Marcus studied the tactical display. "How long before their backup arrives?" "Perhaps 6 hours. Maybe less. And how long to reach neutral space?" Thexali's expression grew grim. "At maximum speed, 14 hours. We cannot outrun their response fleet." Rodriguez had been quietly examining the Kythera ship's systems. "This is impressive technology. Your stealth capabilities alone are decades ahead of anything in human space. Kythera science follows. Different principles than most species," Kethvar explained. "We study prey behavior for millennia before developing countermeasures." "Could we hide?" Marcus asked. "Find somewhere to lay low until the search moves on?" "Possible," Thexali admitted. "There is a debris field near the Helix Nebula. Natural interference would mask our signatures. But supplies are limited. We could remain hidden for perhaps 10 days. 10 days should be enough for the immediate search to cool down," Marcus said. "But we'd still be stuck deep in Zephyrian territory." Kethvar had been studying the star charts displayed on the bridge. "There is another option. Dangerous, but possible. I'm listening. The Convergence Station. Neutral trading post on the border between Zephyrian and Terran space. If we could reach it, the Zephyrians wouldn't dare attack a neutral station," Marcus finished. "But you said it was dangerous?" "Station is controlled by the Vorthan Syndicate. They care nothing for politics, only profit. They would sell us to highest bidder. Dr. Kim looked confused. Then how does that help us? Because, Marcus said, understanding dawning, the highest bidder might not be the Zephyrians. The Terran government pays very well for intelligence about enemy operations. Thexali's eyes showed approval. Clever. But reaching Convergence Station requires passing through 3 Zephyrian patrol zones. Even with stealth systems, risk is enormous. What about your people? Rodriguez asked Kethvar. Could the Kythera provide safe passage? Kethvar's expression darkened. My clan might assist, but official policy remains unchanged. Contact with humans is discouraged. Why? Dr. Kim asked. What did we do to offend your people? Nothing directly, Thexali answered. But human expansion patterns concern the elders. Your species spreads quickly, adapts to new environments, forms alliances easily. Some among our leadership fear you will eventually dominate the galaxy. Marcus felt a bitter laugh escape. They're afraid of us. We're barely holding our own against the Zephyrians. Which proves their point, Kethvar said quietly. Humans face superior technology, greater numbers, hostile environment. Yet you persist. You adapt. You find ways to win against impossible odds. That terrifies those who prefer predictable outcomes. The bridge suddenly erupted in warning signals. Thexali rushed to the sensor station while her crew reported in rapid, untranslated Kythera. Zephyrian scout ships, she announced grimly. 6 vessels sweeping the debris field. They will detect us within the hour. Marcus felt the familiar calm that came with imminent combat. Options? We run and hope we reach the nebula before they pin down our location. Or we fight and hope to eliminate them before they can report our position. 6 ships? Rodriguez asked. Light scouts, fast but lightly armed. Silent current could destroy them, but not before they transmit our location to the main fleet. Kethvar had moved to what appeared to be a weapons console. There is a third option. If we could isolate one scout from the others, capture instead of destroy, Marcus said, following his logic. Get information about their search patterns and fleet positions. Risky, Thexali warned. Kythera ships are not designed for boarding actions, but humans are, Marcus pointed out. If you can get us close enough, absolutely not, Dr. Kim interrupted. You're talking about combat in vacuum against armed enemies. It's suicide. Marcus looked at his team. Rodriguez was already checking his equipment, the expression of a soldier accepting a necessary mission. Dr. Kim was clearly terrified but trying to hide it. Kethvar was watching them all with predatory interest. Sarah's right about the risk, Marcus said finally. But if we can pull this off, we get intelligence that could save all our lives, plus a captured scout ship to confuse their search. The plan has merit, Thexali agreed reluctantly, but capture operations require precise timing. One mistake and you are dead in space. Then we don't make mistakes, Marcus said simply. Kethvar, are you in condition to fight? The alien's golden eyes blazed with anticipation. I have scores to settle with Zephyrians. My injuries will not slow me. Dr. Kim threw up her hands in exasperation. You're all insane. But if you're determined to do this, at least let me modify your equipment. I can rig emergency medical protocols into your suits. Marcus felt a grim smile tugging at his lips. Looks like we're going boarding. Thexali, can you get us close to an isolated scout? The outermost vessel is lagging behind the formation, likely experiencing technical difficulties. We could approach from its sensor shadow. Perfect. How long do we have? 40 minutes before the search pattern brings them to our current position. Marcus nodded. Then we'd better get ready. Time to show these Zephyrians what happens when they underestimate humans. As the crew prepared for the boarding action, Marcus found himself wondering if they were making the right choice. But with Zephyrian reinforcements approaching and limited options for escape, sometimes the most dangerous path was the only one that led to survival. Besides, he had learned something important about their Kythera allies. They understood honor, valued courage, and were willing to risk everything for those they considered worthy. In his experience, those were the kind of allies worth having. The hunt was about to begin. The Zephyrian scout ship Night's Edge hung alone in space, its engines clearly malfunctioning based on the intermittent energy readings. Perfect for what Marcus had in mind. Boarding tubes deployed, Thexali reported from the Silent Currents bridge. You have 15 minutes before the next patrol sweep brings reinforcements. Marcus checked his equipment one final time. The Kythera had provided them with advanced combat suits that adapted to human physiology. complete with weapons that fired crystalline projectiles capable of penetrating most armor. More importantly, the suits included translation systems that would allow communication with captured Zephyrians. "Remember the plan?" he said to his team through the comm system. Fast, quiet, and precise. "We need prisoners, not corpses." Kethvar's massive form filled the airlock beside them, somehow managing to look graceful even in the bulky combat armor Thex Ali had modified for his size. Zephyrian scout ships carry crew of 12, bridge crew of 4, engineering section crew of 3, remaining 5 distributed between weapons control and life support. "Standard breach pattern then," Rodriguez confirmed. "Hit the bridge first to prevent distress calls, then secure engineering and weapons." Dr. Kim had insisted on joining the boarding party despite her obvious terror. "Someone needs to monitor your vital signs and provide medical support if this goes wrong." The boarding tube made contact with the scout ship's hull with a gentle vibration. Cutting lasers immediately began working on the outer hull plating, creating an entry point that would bypass the ship's main airlocks. "Hull breach in 30 seconds. Thex Ali's voice crackled through their comms. "Zephyrian vessel is not responding to standard hails. They may not be aware of our presence." Marcus felt the familiar pre-combat calm settling over him. Years of military training had taught him to channel fear and adrenaline into focused determination. Beside him, Kethvar radiated predatory readiness that was almost tangible. "Breach complete. You are clear for boarding." They moved through the opening in single file, emergency lights casting eerie shadows as they entered the Zephyrian vessel. The ship's interior was cramped by human standards, with corridors designed for the taller, thinner Zephyrian physique. "This way to the bridge," Kethvar whispered, leading them through a maze of passages. His knowledge of Zephyrian ship design was proving invaluable. They encountered their first crew member near the engineering section. A young Zephyrian technician rounded a corner and froze at the sight of the boarding party. Before he could raise an alarm, Kethvar was on him, one massive hand covering the alien's mouth while the other applied pressure to a nerve cluster. The technician collapsed unconsciously. "One down," Marcus reported. 11 to go. They secured the unconscious alien with restraint cables and continued toward the bridge. The ship's layout was indeed standard for Zephyrian scouts, with the command center located at the vessel's forward section. "Multiple contacts ahead," Rodriguez whispered, checking his scanner. 4 individuals on the bridge, 2 more in adjacent compartments. Marcus studied the tactical situation. The bridge was accessed through a single corridor with limited cover. A frontal assault would be costly and likely trigger alarms. They needed a different approach. "Kethvar, is there another way to reach the bridge?" Maintenance shafts run parallel to main corridors, designed for emergency access during combat damage. "Perfect. Rodriguez, you and I take the maintenance route. Kethvar and Dr. Kim secure this position and watch for stragglers." The maintenance shaft was barely large enough for human-sized beings, forcing them to crawl on hands and knees. Through the thin metal grating, Marcus could hear Zephyrian voices discussing their engine problems. "Hyperdrive motivator is completely fried," one was saying. "We'll need a full replacement unit." "Signal the fleet for assistance," another voice ordered. "This sector sweep is too important to delay." Marcus exchanged a glance with Rodriguez. If they signaled for help, the entire operation would be compromised. They had to move now. The maintenance shaft opened into a storage compartment directly adjacent to the bridge. Through the connecting door, they could see 4 Zephyrians working at various control stations. The ship's captain was easily identifiable by his elaborate uniform and commanding posture. Marcus activated his comm system. "Kethvar, we're in position. Begin your approach in 60 seconds. "Understood." Marcus and Rodriguez positioned themselves on either side of the storage compartment door. The plan was simple. Kethvar would create a distraction at the bridge's main entrance while they struck from behind. 30 seconds, Marcus whispered. Exactly on schedule. Emergency klaxons began blaring throughout the ship. Through the bridge's viewports, they could see Kethvar's imposing figure in the main corridor, his presence triggering every proximity alarm on the vessel. "Intruder alert," the captain shouted. "All hands to combat stations." The bridge crew drew their weapons and moved toward the main entrance exactly as Marcus had hoped. He and Rodriguez burst through the storage room door, stunning 2 crew members before they could react. The captain spun around, raising his plasma rifle, but found himself facing the barrel of Marcus's weapon. "Drop it," Marcus ordered through his suit's translator. The captain's 4 eyes widened with surprise and fear. Humans, how did you? Questions later. Weapons down now, or my friend in the corridor starts taking apart your ship piece by piece. The remaining bridge crew reluctantly lowered their weapons. Through the main viewports, Kethvar was indeed tearing through bulkheads with his claws, each strike sending visible shockwaves through the ship's structure. Secure the weapons, Marcus ordered Rodriguez. Dr. Kim, get up here and start scanning for additional crew members. Within minutes, they had the bridge under complete control. The ship's 12-person crew was now secured in various compartments, unconscious or restrained. Dr. Kim's medical scanner confirmed no additional life signs aboard the vessel. Excellent work, Thexali's voice came through the comm system. But you have a problem. Long-range sensors show Zephyrian reinforcements approaching faster than anticipated. ETA 10 minutes. Marcus studied the captured scout ship systems. Can we pilot this thing? Zephyrian controls are different from human standards, Kethvar observed, but manageable with practice. We don't have time for practice, Rodriguez pointed out. Those reinforcements will be here soon. Dr. Kim had been examining the ship's navigation logs. Marcus, look at this. They've been mapping human colony worlds in the outer sectors. The data was damning. The Zephyrians weren't just conducting random patrols. They were systematically cataloging human settlements for potential attacks. Colony worlds that couldn't defend themselves were being marked for future conquest. This information has to reach Earth Command, Marcus said grimly. How many innocent people are they planning to attack? According to these records, at least 40 colony worlds are tagged for immediate action, Dr. Kim replied. Population centers, defense installations, resource extraction sites. It's a complete invasion plan. Marcus felt cold anger settling in his chest. The Zephyrians weren't just hostile. They were planning genocide on a massive scale. Change of plans, he announced. We're taking the ship all the way to Terran space. This intelligence is too important to risk losing. That's impossible, Kethvar protested. Zephyrian ship in human territory will be destroyed on sight. Not if we're flying escort, Marcus replied. Thexali, can the silent current accompany us to the border? Risky, very risky, but a pause as she consulted her crew. Possible, if we can avoid Zephyrian patrol routes. Rodriguez was studying the scout ship's weapon systems. This thing is armed well enough to cause serious damage if it falls into the wrong hands. Then we make sure it doesn't, Marcus said firmly. Dr. Kim, how long would it take to download all their intelligence data? Already in progress. Should be complete within minutes. Good. Kethvar, can you help us understand these navigation systems? The alien moved to the pilot station with careful precision. Hyperdrive is functional despite engine problems. We could reach neutral space in 6 hours if we avoid major shipping lanes. Then that's what we do. Marcus activated the ship's communication system. Thexali, we're ready to get out of here. Acknowledged. Follow my lead and try to match our course corrections. Zephyrian reinforcements are now 8 minutes out. As the two ships moved away from the debris field, Marcus found himself thinking about the intelligence they had captured. 40 human colony worlds marked for attack. Millions of innocent people who had no idea what was coming. We have to warn them, he said to no one in particular. We will, Dr. Kim assured him. But first we have to survive long enough to deliver the warning. Through the scout ship's viewports, the stars wheeled slowly as they changed course for human space. Behind them, Zephyrian reinforcement ships were beginning to appear, their sensors sweeping the area for any sign of the missing scout. Marcus settled into the captain's chair, his hands learning the alien controls by necessity. They had come so far from that torture chamber aboard the Stellar. Now they were racing against time to prevent a massacre. The question was whether they would reach safety before the Zephyrians realized what they had lost. 6 months after their desperate escape from Zephyrian territory, Marcus stood on the observation deck of Terra Station, watching Earth turn slowly beneath him. The blue marble of humanity's homeworld looked peaceful from orbit, but he knew that appearances were deceiving. The intelligence they had delivered had changed everything. The Colonial Defense Force has established early warning networks around all 40 targeted worlds, Admiral Richardson was saying during their debriefing session. Thanks to your intelligence, we've been able to reinforce the most vulnerable colonies and establish rapid response protocols. Marcus nodded, but his attention was focused on the figure standing beside him at the observation window. Kethavar had grown even more impressive during their journey to Earth, his injuries fully healed and his bearing that of a warrior scholar who had found his purpose. The Cathara High Council has agreed to formal diplomatic relations, the Admiral continued. Apparently, your actions have convinced them that humans can be trusted with honor. It wasn't just our actions, Marcus replied. Kethavar and Thexali risked everything to help us. Their people are finally seeing humans as potential allies rather than threats. Dr. Kim approached the group, her tablet displaying the latest xenobiological reports. The medical data we've gathered from working with Cathara physiology has advanced our understanding of reptilian alien species by decades. Kethavar has been invaluable in helping us understand the biological diversity of the galaxy. Rodriguez joined them from the tactical briefing room. The Zephyrians are still searching for their missing scout ship. They have no idea we captured their invasion plans. Intelligence estimates we gained at least 2 years of preparation time. 2 years might be enough, Admiral Richardson said. The new alliance with the Cathara gives us access to stealth technology and advanced weaponry. Combined with human adaptability and manufacturing capacity, we might actually have a chance, Marcus finished. Through the observation window, a sleek ship was approaching the station. The silent current had been refitted with human communication systems and diplomatic quarters, serving as the first official embassy vessel between their species. Thexali had volunteered to serve as ambassador, a role that suited her diplomatic nature. Speaking of chances, Dr. Kim said with a smile, "There's someone who wants to see you." She gestured toward the docking bay, where a familiar massive figure was emerging from the airlock. Kethavar had insisted on accompanying every diplomatic mission to Earth, claiming it was his duty to ensure proper understanding between their peoples. Marcus suspected there were more personal reasons. "My friend," Kethavar's deep voice rumbled as he approached, "the Council has made a decision regarding my exile status." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Despite everything they had accomplished together, Cathara politics remained complex and often incomprehensible to human minds. "The charges have been reconsidered," Kethavar continued, his golden eyes showing amusement at Marcus's obvious concern. "It seems that saving 40 human colony worlds and establishing first contact with a potential ally species qualifies as service to the greater good. My exile is ended." Relief flooded through Marcus. "That's incredible news. Will you be returning to your homeworld?" "Eventually. But first the Council has assigned me a new role. I am to serve as military liaison between our species, helping to coordinate joint defense operations against Zephyrian expansion." "Which means you'll be staying on Earth?" Dr. Kim asked. "For the foreseeable future, someone must ensure that human military commanders understand Cathara tactical doctrine, and perhaps—" He paused, looking directly at Marcus. "Someone must ensure that Cathara commanders understand human concepts of honor and sacrifice." Admiral Richardson stepped forward. "Captain Chen, I have new orders for you as well. You're being promoted to colonel and given command of the new Interspecies Cooperation Division. Your mission will be to work with our alien allies in developing joint military and scientific protocols." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, but it was a welcome burden. The work they were doing here could determine the fate of human civilization. "There's something else," Kethavar said quietly. "My people have a tradition. When a warrior saves another's life in battle, a bond is formed, a debt that can only be repaid through lifetime service." "You don't owe me anything," Marcus protested. "We saved each other, perhaps, but among my people such bonds are not about debt. They are about family." Kethavar's expression grew serious. "You are clutch brother to me now, Marcus Chen, as I am to you." Marcus felt emotion tighten his throat. In the months since their escape, he had come to understand the depth of Cathara relationships. Being accepted as clutch brother was one of the highest honors their society could bestow. "The feeling is mutual," he said simply. Dr. Kim was wiping tears from her eyes. "This is all very touching, but we have practical matters to discuss. The joint research projects are producing incredible results. Cathara biotechnology combined with human engineering is revolutionizing everything from medicine to space travel. And the military applications," Rodriguez added, "are giving the Zephyrians some very unpleasant surprises. Their latest raids on the outer colonies have been unsuccessful." Admiral Richardson nodded. "The enemy is adapting to our new capabilities, but slowly. They still don't understand how we're anticipating their tactics. Because they don't understand the alliance, Kethvar observed. Zephyrians see cooperation as weakness, temporary alliances born of necessity. They cannot comprehend bonds forged in shared struggle. Marcus looked around at his friends and colleagues, human and alien alike. That's their weakness. They'll never understand what makes us strong. Through the observation window, more ships were arriving at Terra Station, human vessels alongside Kithra deep ships, working together to patrol the borders of known space. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months ago. The Zephyrians made a mistake when they left you for dead, Marcus said to Kethavar. They thought they were eliminating a threat. Instead, they created an alliance, Kethavar replied with his predatory smile. One that will ensure their expansion ends here. Dr. Kim's tablet chimed with an incoming message. Speaking of the alliance, Thexali is requesting permission to dock. She has news from the border sectors. As they made their way to the docking bay, Marcus reflected on the strange chain of events that had brought them to this point. A routine exploration mission had become a rescue operation, which had become first contact with a powerful new ally. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but humanity was no longer facing those dangers alone. Whatever Thexali has to report, he said to his assembled friends, we'll face it together. Kethvar's rumbling laugh echoed through the corridor. Together? Yes. The Zephyrians will learn to fear that word. As the docking bay doors opened to admit their alien allies, Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to discover what humans and Kithera could accomplish when they fought side by side. The stars themselves would bear witness to the birth of an alliance that would reshape the balance of power among the worlds. The beast the Zephyrians had left for dead had indeed become something they should fear. Not a monster, but a bridge between species. Not an enemy, but the foundation of humanity's greatest alliance. And somewhere in the depths of space, Zephyrian fleet commanders were beginning to understand that their easy conquests were coming to an end. The humans and their reptilian allies were coming, and they were no longer fighting alone.